class 10th, I actually wanted to take biology. But then I thought maths कौन पढ़ेगा? So then I thought easy doctor बन जाते हैं.
हाँ.
Then I thought psychology is like my thing, and I think, but when I started getting into it, I think I realized that we're made for each other.
Yeah.
I went for 30 minutes into meditation. I'm not even kidding.
Okay.
I thought, I just like went and I do this technique called the alpha, which I learned.
Yeah.
So I did that and I just came out of it, and it just actually came that this is what I want to do. This is what I want to name it. This is what makes so much sense to me as a person and as a professional.
Hello, beautiful listeners and viewers. Welcome to the PsyK-Talk, a pioneering podcast on mental health and psychology. I am your host, Kirti Garg, a practicing psychologist and also the founder of PsychlifeLife. The PsychlifeLife is a registered mental health organization where we are creating a platform for more mental health advocacy, providing affordable counseling and therapy services, and also training psychology students into becoming skilled and ethical psychologists. We are also building India's first mental health store, and I'm so glad to finally launch our podcast, The PsyK-Talk. As someone deeply connected to the field of psychology, I've always wanted to create a space like this, and this podcast is a heartfelt initiative for the same. Here you can expect lots of mental health professionals talking about real life situations and also the advancements in the field of mental health. For today's episode, we have a very special guest with us. However, before I introduce her to all of you, here's a little disclaimer for all our viewers and listeners. This podcast, we are aiming to provide factual and reliable information to all of you. However, the podcast is in no way a substitute to therapy. If you or your loved one are looking for mental health help or going through any kind of mental health issues, you can always visit our official website www.thepsyklife.com and reach out to a mental health expert. So let's begin today's episode with Miss Anindita Anand. She is a psychologist, a personal growth coach, and also an NLP practitioner. Through her work, she has already impacted more than 4,000 individuals on their mental health and personal growth journey. I'm very happy to have you here with us today, ma'am.
Thank you so much. I'm really glad to be here too.
Yes, finally we're doing this.
Yes.
Let's begin by getting to know what got you into psychology. Interest kaise bana? How come in this field of psychology?
You know, a lot of people ask me that, and it is funny because people expect that I'm going to say मेरी life में कुछ ऐसा हुआ था और फिर ऐसा हुआ और मुझे ये था तो मैं psychology में खींची चली आई, ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं. It's a very, I think it's a fun story. Fun story is that one, मैं बहुत ही थ्रिलर मूवीज देख के बड़ी हुई हूँ थैंक्स टू माय मदर, एंड मैं बहुत ज़्यादा हॉरर और ये सब चीज़ें देख के बड़ी हुई हूँ. तो दिस वाज लाइक अ प्री बेस टू इट. सेकेंड थिंग वाज दैट आई रियली डिड नॉट वांट टू डू एनीथिंग जो मेरे पूरे खानदान में किसी ने किया हो.
Okay.
I just wanted to do something different, which would be adventurous, which involves a lot of people. So I think one thing I was very clear about is that I'm good with people.
Okay.
And I knew I like talking. So extrovert. So
Yeah.
that's why. So I thought, why not? So till class 10th, I actually wanted to take biology. But then I thought maths कौन पढ़ेगा? So then I thought easy doctor बन जाते हैं.
हाँ.
Then I thought psychology is like my thing. And I think, but when I started getting into it, I think I realized that we're made for each other.
Yes.
We're made for each other because it was amazing. It is an amazing subject, and I think I just love doing it. So I think it became my passion eventually. So it was, I think, an interest, but I think it became my passion. So that is how I entered into it. Funny enough, also, not that I have not been to a psychologist when I was a kid. My parents did take me to a counselor when I was very young, and
That's nice to know.
yeah, they did. Very woke parents. So they did take me to a counselor. They also took me to a psychiatrist. I think I was having anxiety. So I think somewhere a seed was planted that ये profession होता है, ऐसे कर सकते हैं. So I think all of it just came together. So this is how I'm here.
I feel you were very lucky, you know, that you had parents like this जो बचपन में ही, you know, somewhere equipped you with the concept कि कोई psychologist होता है, there is a दिमाग का doctor, there is somebody who can help you in crisis.
Absolutely. I think I am very blessed to have one, parents with great humor, two, parents with great open-mindedness, that they did think that they should take me. And I think we do need that right now. They're also very woke about meditation. They're woke about a lot of things. So I think they put me into all right resources that a person should have, regardless of anxiety or not anxiety.
Exactly.
We all have anxiety. So regardless of anything, but like we all should be at least introduced to these things, no matter what.
Exactly.
So that we know this is an option, career-wise and life choice-wise also.
That's great. That's great. You are very popular with your Instagram handle, Mind Simplified.
I am really flattered that you said it. I'm just like really flattered now. Thank you.
That's an interesting name to think of. How come you thought of it?
Again.
कुछ
So
हट के करना था.
No. It was funny again.
Okay.
So I think if I'm being very honest, which like I try to be most of the times, honestly, lockdown happened. I had just quit my job at the hospital. I was a consultant child and adolescent psychologist in Sir Gangaram Hospital.
Okay.
So I quit my job in 2019 November. I wanted to do my own thing. 2020 March, lockdown was happening. So I thought, okay, I already have some clientele by my name. I worked there 4 years, but I need to build my clientele even more, right? So I thought, okay, now let me open my personal Instagram account to public.
Yeah, make it public.
I did not know what it does to you.
Yeah.
So everything that should not have been accepted got accepted. I immediately made it private again. Then I started a new Instagram handle. I went for 30 minutes into meditation. I'm not even kidding.
Okay.
I just like went and I do this technique called the alpha, which I learned.
Yeah.
So I did that and I just came out of it and it just actually came that this is what I want to do. This is what I want to name it. This is what makes so much sense to me as a person and as a professional. And I like आसानी से बता दो ना क्या है.
Exactly.
इतना complicated और डरावना बना के बताने की क्या need है. And I think that is something I also felt as a student and as a person lacking in the realm of mental health. So I think that's where the name came from.
Quite interesting. आसानी से बताओ psychology क्या है?
आसानी से psychology क्या है? Psychology, according to me, is definitely understanding, working with this very beautiful, not so complex if you know how to work on it, machinery called mind. That's it. According to me, psychology is just understanding that, understanding the nuances of it. That's it.
And how true is reading minds?
Absolutely not true. It is the biggest lie on the face of this earth. Because if this was true,
We'd all be somewhere else.
no, also if this was true, I mean, no psychologist would get divorced. We would be having the perfect partners. We would know exactly which one to vote. We would do everything.
Exactly.
Bang on right. It's not true at all. So yeah, I don't think it has. I really don't think it has anything to do with reading minds. I think it has to do with attempting to understand somebody's mind,
Right.
which requires you to tell yourself, I don't know. Let me ask.
Right.
So I think that is something what I really think mind and
I think
psychology. What do you think?
Well, I completely agree to the last part that you mentioned. A lot of my trainees, when they ask me, "कि ma'am therapy कैसे दें? How do we, what is it that we provide to clients in therapy?" And I always say that it's not advice giving. You are not somebody who knows all the answers, and you cannot go back with that assumption in a therapy setting. It is exploring with the client. कि वो exactly है कहाँ पे, and you explore it out with them. You come to solutions with them. You don't provide it to them. So I completely agree कि as a field, as a subject, psychology, we try to understand the mind. We try to come up with answers with the client rather than providing them. We are not mind readers. We don't know all the answers.
Absolutely, I completely agree with that.
Right. Fine. So this brings me to the next question, ma'am. You mentioned that your parents have always been very, out there with you when it came to seeking help or just being very open-minded around such concepts. In today's era, I feel that one of the challenges that a lot of people are facing when they reach out for help is, "Mummy Papa ko kaise manaye?" We can't finance therapy ourselves. Affordable therapy इतनी easily मिलती नहीं है. I can't finance it. What can I do? How do I convince my parents to allow me to go for therapy, or how do I help them understand the concept of therapy?
I think this is a very important question. For example, I'm trying to bring the concept of LGBTQI to my mother. So that's fun. So I think issue क्या है देखो, issue ये है कि वो डरते हैं.
Okay.
Ultimately बात क्या है, बताने से बात क्या है. जैसे आपके पेरेंट्स क्लबिंग भेजने से आपको डरते हैं.
कुछ गलत हो जाएगा.
Absolutely right. क्या व्यक्ति को डर कब होता है? उसे डर तब होता है जब उसे लैक ऑफ नॉलेज है किसी चीज के बारे में.
ठीक है.
या तो उसका बुरा एक्सपीरियंस हुआ उस बारे में, और कहाँ से डर पैदा हो जाएगा बैठे बैठे किसी बंदे में किसी चीज के बारे में.
Right.
या तो सुनी सुनाई बात होगी कि उसके साथ ऐसा हो गया था, ऐसा हो गया था, आपने अज्यूम कर लिया मेरे साथ भी हो जाएगा. या आपको जेन्युइनली बहुत लैक ऑफ
नॉलेज, आपको पता नहीं वो एग्जैक्टली होता क्या.
एग्जैक्टली. अब आप किसी समुद्र में पैर नहीं रखोगे, आपको क्या पता अंदर क्या क्रीचर है. सब लैक ऑफ नॉलेज क्रिएट्स अ लॉट ऑफ
Fear, uncertainty.
Exactly. So I think very subtly, not like being all millennial and Gen Z on them like we all do.
Right.
Just like कि बिना नीचा दिखाए किसी को, क्या आपको ये भी नहीं पता.
Right.
So I think बिना नीचा दिखाए किसी को जब उसे नॉलेज दी जाती है, वो ज्यादा एक्सेप्ट की जाती है. I think media is doing a very good job by making movies.
Right.
Introduce movies. Or maybe talking to them about my friend went and they felt better. That I read this article, showing videos of good mental health influencers. Right to them. Any person that they think would make sense. Also, this is one way. Second is find one person जिसकी मम्मी पापा बहुत सुनते हैं.
हाँ, and ask the mummy papa to talk to your mummy papa.
True. Or ask that person to like slip it in if that person is also like woke. They know this. Third thing is, see, affordability, I really feel Kirti is subjective. Because, let's say today you go watch a movie or you went to a cafe. And I'm not commenting on, your privilege or anything. But affordability is subjective. Start, if this is important to you. And until and unless बहुत ही ज़्यादा प्रॉब्लम है घर में, फाइनेंशियल लाइफ में फाइनेंशियल प्रॉब्लम है, आप बहुत ही दिक्कत में हो, दिस इज नॉट फॉर दोज पीपल. बट इफ यू हैव लेट्स से सम पॉकेट मनी, यू सेव 500 आउट ऑफ इट, राइट, और यू सेव एनीथिंग आउट ऑफ इट, जस्ट लाइक गिविंग एन एग्जांपल. बट start making this important. This is an investment. Other things we do is an expenditure.
Right. This is a necessity. Other things are luxuries. You can also put it that.
Well, people think therapy is luxury. सिर्फ अमीर लोग जाते हैं, right? Therapy वो लोग आते हैं जो उसको prioritize करते हैं. A lot of my clients also do not come from a lot of privileged background, but they've really hard earned their money. So, or they've, especially student लोग, they've really juटाउट that money. So I think it is very important that save up a little bit, at least for minimum 2 sessions. हर महीने एक सेशन कर लो, 2 कर लो. I know consistency break होती है, मैं समझती हूँ, लेकिन कुछ कर लो, better than nothing. So try doing that. Buy that one Zara shirt less, maybe, or buy that one perfume less, or go on one less, or go on a cuter, cheaper date, maybe, right? So just giving an example, again, not commenting on what people choose, but since you've asked me, I'm giving that. Fourth, very important is a lot of therapists do offer a sliding scale.
Yes,
including myself.
Yes.
Right. So if somebody tells me that no, ma'am, I don't think I can afford this, I offer like a certain sliding scale for students. That is another option.
And that's great.
Right. And other than that, lot of people are doing pro bono work. Just log into. There are a lot of websites.
Yes.
Right. WHO से लेकर युवा, Youth for Mental Health, a lot of people have published, especially during COVID. Big lists were published for people who are doing like a very minimal scale or a pro bono session wala thingy. So just go sign up, see how it works. And
I don't know how much you know about this, but even at the PsycLife, we have this entire pro bono therapy that we provide. And it is not one session, it is not 2. We provide at least 6 to 8 sessions completely free of cost to people. But again, we make sure that people who are underprivileged or people who find it difficult to afford therapy, they make the best use of this. So that kind of help is also provided, and I think we need more platforms like this, you know.
I absolutely agree. So I myself do a lot of pro bono work. So Friday mornings were dedicated to that, and I'm again re-beginning to do that because I think I really feel that people do need that kind of space too. But you know what really is difficult is I cannot define that you cannot pay.
Right.
A lot of times it's funny, like just actually candid. A lot of times people come, they would just keep an iPhone on my table and they come for pro bono.
That's sad.
No, and I who am I? मुझे लगता है जब आप चैरिटी करने बैठे हो, जब प्रसाद बट रहा है, तो आप ये नहीं कहोगे कि तू भूखा नहीं.
हाँ.
जब बट रहा है तो जिसको मिल रहा है वो लेगा. बट रहा है तो बट रहा है. I've sit for a purpose. Whosoever the purpose brings in front of me, I serve.
Right.
That's what pro bono means. So I don't judge, but then I really think that this slot maybe could have been given to someone else or whatever. But then again, who am I to judge? क्योंकि किसी के घर में लाइफ में क्या चल रहा है मुझे क्या पता.
We don't know from where that iPhone came.
True.
And
I don't comment. But all I'm saying is if you can afford, talk to your therapist. Therapists will also understand.
Right.
And tell them that what can be the financial arrangement you can get into it.
That's interesting. I think with all the pointers that you mentioned, help seeking will become more easier for people, and probably just asking our parents to, helping them understand the concept of therapy and reaching out for help will become easier. If you don't mind, ma'am, and if you're comfortable sharing, has there been any mental health challenges that you have faced, that you would like to discuss about and maybe shed light on how therapy helped you, or, just any form of self-care that you indulged in?
I like 100% population on the earth has had issues.
Awesome.
Right? I cannot find one person who would be like, I have been born zen, there is no issue, I had no issues.
Right.
So I think right from class 2 till my second year of masters, and post that I think sometime during the COVID. So I started having anxiety. I used to have a lot of anxiety. So it used to present as, it presented as sleepwalking initially when I was in class 5. Then it started presenting as severe exam anxiety during school. And I mean severe, which means I would just puke a lot. I would tell my mother, mera haath pakad ke so jao, and all of those things. And also, I think this was one prominent thing. Exam anxiety stayed. Then later I started realizing that about my relationships also. It is just like my mind caught on to this habit now.
Yeah, it became a coping mechanism for you.
I think it's a machinery. Once your mind runs that machinery of chemical release of anxiety, and which is called, by the way, emotional addiction.
Right.
So I think that I went into that addiction loop that no matter what, my mind would get anxious. So thankfully, I'm in this profession. I got good mentors, and they told me that when I got my first client, they said, here, this is your first client. You are not allowed to work with her. So I just went, what? They said she'll come after 1 month. Now you work 1 month on the issue on which she is going to work on. If you have the same issue. So therapeutically, I used all tools on myself
First. And
yes.
Then
So my therapy started as self-therapy because I'm a therapist.
Right.
And then eventually I started, working a lot on every issue that I would work with my clients. First I would work on myself so that I'm clean. I don't transfer my biases.
Right.
And in that way, in that journey, I started getting rid of a lot of thought patterns which used to block me, unnecessarily ghosts which I was holding on to, grudges, hurt, which is common for everyone.
Right.
But we just don't know how to let go of it. So I just let all of that go, and then I discovered some new ones. Because our mind is like a sponge. It is constantly taking so much in. It is not कि मैं तो 10 साल से therapy जा रही हूँ, अभी भी issues क्यों आ रहे हैं, क्योंकि sponge में कब कहाँ से क्या निकल के आ रहा है, you don't know. As long as you're functional, how does it matter? So definitely I think 2018, genuinely I was getting very bad panic attacks while I was a psychologist, about being a psychologist.
And that's normal.
Very.
Right.
I used to see a client, this happened and then I took like a sabbatical. I used to see a client go to the hospital bathroom crying. I used to go into a panic attack. the panic attack was also about I am not a good therapist. So it just went into a loop. And I think now that I look back, that is what also made me think, oh, we need better training. Because I used to have such unrealistic expectations from myself as a therapist only.
Right.
As if I'm God sent or something, I don't know. So I think that's also a lot of glamour attached to our profession. Now when I understood that, then I realized, oh, we are normal people. I can just be normal
And feel what I'm feeling.
Yeah, and
That's
also clients' growth is not only my responsibility. So we'll come to that. But other than that, yes, I did work on. I keep working every day. I know that my mind has a tendency to build negative scenarios, like anybody's mind.
Right.
I know my mind has a tendency to, become overwhelmed sometimes. I know, like everybody, I become sad, I grieve. So when I'm doing that, now I have better tools and techniques
To handle it. Right.
Yes, and I still go through it.
Right.
But now I bounce back very easy. Life is super cool. I do not stick to it, and I do not label myself as anxious or sad. I just think it comes and goes.
It's a phase, it happens, you deal with it better.
And none of my thoughts or emotions defines me.
Good.
Earlier I used to feel anxiety defines me. And I think I can give a lot of credit to my current mentor. He's amazing. So I met him in 2000. I met him in 2016, but I started one-on-one work with him in 2018. He's one of the best people I met, and I still go. Once a month, I still go. Just like to be there, because he can sometimes catch what I might not be catching.
Exactly.
So that
I think that's where mentoring and supervision plays a very important role,
Yeah.
For every practicing psychologist, for every budding psychologist, just having a supervisor is very, very important.
But also, Kirti, what do you think is, now that I am budded, I feel, right? So, even if I would be 40 years into this profession, I would still go.
Right. So every psychologist, every individual, irrespective of the years of experience, requires a supervisor. And that's good.
It's nice, of course. And I'm sure SOS need बहुत कम हो जाती है.
हाँ.
But even as a human, I'm also growing na every day.
We have our own challenges coming up every day.
I have new phases of my life too as a person.
Right.
So why not?
Right.
So definitely.
The sponge example that you gave, it reminded me of something that I often mention to my clients, that just because you're coming to therapy, I am not promising you कि issues नहीं आएंगे life में. Yeah, you will not feel anxious again. All of that will happen because, again, like we talked, there are phases, there are challenges that will keep coming up. However, how you handle them, the intensity of dealing with these things, all of that will become better. So
absolutely, I think I can definitely completely resonate with that.
So ma'am, you also mentioned, like while I was introducing you, I did share that you are a psychologist, you're a personal growth coach and an NLP practitioner. I think for our viewers, we would like to know what these three words mean and how these three words are different.
Okay, so these three words technically, other than NLP, two words are not very different. Psychologist, because I studied it. If I would have not studied it, I didn't have a degree in it, I would not label myself as psychologist, I would just label myself a growth coach. Then I would have done some certification in being a coach. Yes, like exactly. So that. So technically my training was done into counseling and clinical only.
Okay.
Right. And my specialization, my master's was in child and adolescent. Okay. Right. So I was trained and very equipped, and I worked 4 years with numerous children, adolescents on numerous clinical and non-clinical issues. So personal growth coach, psychologist, almost एक ही बात है, काम वही हो रहा होता है. But मैं difference academically बता देती हूँ क्या. Academically difference ये है that अगर मैंने मान लो psychology में degree नहीं की होती, bachelor's, master's कुछ भी नहीं किया होता, then I would have just done some certification into life coaching. Exactly. Then I would just call myself a growth coach or a happiness coach or a personal growth coach. Since I've also done my degree into that, I was in the hospital. My specialization in my master's in my second year, I've done in child and adolescent. That's so I've done my MSc in counseling and family therapy. Hence I got like a specialization option. So, and I worked in the hospital with a lot of clinical cases. I was working with OCD, I was working with people with OCD, people diagnosed with depression, people diagnosed with trichotillomania, various anxiety disorders, children and adolescents basically, families. So back then, I'm very therapeutically trained to do that. Okay. Right? So that was me doing clinical child and adolescent thing. Then I was transitioning internally. I realized that I want to work more with non-clinical population. Reason one, as a professional for me, it is more intriguing.
I relate to that.
Yes.
As
So
a
honestly,
counseling
yes,
psychologist, yes.
because working with people with medication or clients with medication, I think I felt very saturated after a while. As a professional, very professional opinion. As a matlab, this is what I went through. So I took this decision for myself. Also क्योंकि मैं हॉस्पिटल में काम कर रही थी, I was seeing lot of clients in a day. मेरा burnout बहुत ज़्यादा हो रहा था. So another reason was that, being very honest.
Right.
Third reason was I realized कि diagnosed population या clinical population actually बहुत कम है in comparison to non-clinical population. I wanted to diversify my work.
I would just like to add here, if we are able to work well with the undiagnosed population, we're actually stopping them from getting diagnosed.
Completely agree. That was I completely agree. That was another thing that motivated me to diversify. And then now I diversified. Now you can call me a counseling psychologist. You can call me a growth coach. Growth coach क्यों? क्योंकि मान लीजिए आपको कुछ भी नहीं है. You're just feeling overwhelmed, or you just overthink. Now why should I tell you or diagnose you into a disorder? But then who will you go to? Or you are having some relationship difficulties, or you want to leave this job but you want to just explore your emotional and other options. Who will you go to? So now I just don't fixate to your symptoms. I work on sources with people. I give a lot of time. I understand them better, and it is more of a deep counseling work.
Right.
So the only difference is I just don't work with clients who require psychiatric medication.
Right.
That is the only difference.
And the severity is a little less, obviously, as compared to those.
I
with mental
can't
health
see
issues.
that. I didn't choose to say that because that's not completely true.
Okay.
For example, severity can be there, but of course severity in terms of physical symptoms is less. Definitely. I think the only severity less is in terms of physical symptoms,
right.
and impact on occupation and relationships maybe. So in that case, but now again I can't say what is severe
Right.
or not severe for someone, because जब आता है तो ऐसा लगता है पहाड़ टूट गया सभी के लिए, तो बिलिटल क्या करूँ मैं किसी को. But definitely actual clinical biological severity is much less.
Biological, yes, I think that's the right
Biological severity is much less. NLP, because I got trained into this therapeutic modality called neuro-linguistic programming.
Okay.
I'm also trained in CBT, EMDR, बहुत सारी therapeutic modalities. I love doing NLP because I genuinely saw a lot of impact on myself, and I can vouch for it. What NLP does is amazing. It brings a neurological change. It is so long lasting. It has a greater impact, and I can definitely say this. Like, also it depends on the practitioner and how you do it. But I've seen that NLP is something that would do the same work in lesser sessions than other therapeutic modalities. And see, it's like I'm biased towards it, so I can say that. But definitely that's, so I got trained into it, hence NLP practitioner. I like identifying as an NLP practitioner because that's what I practice more. Now if somebody will ask me आज आपने क्या किया, people call me as per CBT करोगे, क्या करोगे. I'm also like trained in hypnotherapy also. I do everything gets after a while amalgamated.
It's an eclectic approach you're taking.
Very true, but ultimately I know that my heart
is there
with NLP. So
I'm glad then that I have you on the couch today, because as a professional myself, I've never been inclined towards NLP. So NLP, hypnotherapy, all of these things are something that has never intrigued me. So if you could just shed a little bit more light on how NLP really works and what the scope looks like, maybe for all the psychology students watching and hearing this podcast.
Absolutely. So NLP is neuro-linguistic programming. It says that your language and the language that we use externally and both internally. Internal audio भी चलती है, मुंह से भी बोलते हैं. That is what is wiring our brain.
Okay.
And whatever is wired will come out of your mouth.
Right.
So changing your neurological wiring by changing your internal and external language, which is ultimately thoughts only.
So what you're
So
speaking is external language.
Yes.
And what you're telling to yourself is internal.
And also लेट्स से किसी ने कुछ बचपन में बात कही थी, वो ऑडियो स्टक है,
Okay.
राइट? हाउ टू वर्क विद दैट ऑडियो. किसी ने जो मेमोरीज कही थी, वो मेमोरी स्टक है, हाउ टू वर्क विद दैट ऑडियो वीडियो. सो letting them go, you know, how to enhance them or how to have better thoughts. Let's say you don't have any of this, but you still want to feel motivated, you still want to have a better outlook on life. How do you cultivate that? That is what NLP does.
So is it self-talk affirmations that we are targeting?
A very small part of it. Like a big part of it is also cleaning your neural system by using certain techniques which will help you suck out a lot of emotional grief, pain, a lot of blockages, a lot of thought blocks that you might have been keeping. Ultimately, all of it is present in your brain in form of language only.
Right. That's the goal.
Exactly.
Right.
So there's this very cool thing about NLP. It's called meta-model questioning.
Okay.
Right. Meta-model questioning is, I'm just talking about one technique. It is just therapists or people who get trained into NLP are trained into this questioning modality. That I'll ask you a few questions and you'll go, wait.
Like a Socratic questioning for CBT.
That true.
A different
Yes,
technique
but
altogether.
this is like a little bit different. Meta model was developed by Richard Bandler and John Grinder.
Okay.
So they amalgamated Milton model and everything. So it is a little different, but very, very cool. Then there are so many language patterns. Like if somebody is talking, I can actually hear a lot of distortions that they might be having.
Right.
And that is, as a therapist, so cool to just catch and just reflect to your client.
Right. And
So-
that's insight that we are giving to
True,
them.
automatic insight. Also, sometimes I don't even say anything. I just ask a question and insight comes from within. So I think that, and there are a lot of techniques. But people come and tell me, ये मैं भूल कैसे सकती हूँ? या ये पेन कभी जा थोड़ी सकता है? And I tell them, give it a few sessions and do this that I'm asking you to do. So changing internal representations, collapsing anchors. There are so many bunch of techniques in NLP which are made to cut cords between your neural system and emotional and your physical sensations also. That might get created because of that emotional pain. So a lot of it goes around it. Ultimately, changing your neural system is the main
And the
agenda.
external and internal language. We are also
Yes.
working on that majorly.
Yes, absolutely. So that's
Very interesting,
that's
very
NLP.
interesting. I do get why there is an incline that you have towards it though. Ma'am, so much of skills are required, so much of expertise is required to use techniques like this. Whether I talk about CBT, whether I talk about just an eclectic therapist using different forms of therapy, what do you have to say about this quack culture that is going on, with every random person becoming a mental health influencer or just speaking anything and everything around anxiety, depression? What do you have to say about that?
I think initially I used to be very angry because I feel like a lot of people are doing a lot of mehnat. Now I really try to take an empathetic approach about what is happening. Why would somebody claim that they can do this? I really, my mentor says this. There are no bad students and there are no bad therapists.
Okay.
There are no bad clients and no bad students. There are just very restrictive teachers and therapists. So I think if I'm training someone, I don't think that person would become a quack. Right? As a trainer, I can do this, that I put this into their brain, that this is right or this is wrong. Ultimately, everything goes in a learning profession like ours. People are coming for training, right? The kind of trainer that I am, I've actually passed it on to the other person.
Right.
Because a young mind is coming to me, I have given him the definition of this is right as a therapist, this is wrong as a therapist.
Right.
Even if it was completely my bias. So, being very aware about what am I transferring to my trainees, that's very important. And I think that is why a lot of people are not getting very good training, but they still want to do this. Right? Also, I think trainings are expensive. And they should be expensive. Just by the way, it's because if a training is expensive, just check the credibility of the coach doing it.
The
Sometimes it
curriculum,
could
the
be.
course structure, how much of a depth are they providing?
True.
Is it a 1.5 hour thing happening?
True.
Is it a month thing, long thing happening?
True. Also check the credibility of the resource person delivering it.
Definitely.
If you feel great, please pay that amount, and because that's again an investment.
Right.
My mentor told this to me once, from who I learned NLP. He said, I promise you will earn the amount you've put into this within a year, I earned double. Because if it is about earning, again, see, we are in a culture, patience नहीं है एक तो हमें लगता है जल्दी जल्दी से client मिल जाए, जल्दी जल्दी से कर ले, नहीं होगा. Financially हमारी country बहुत difficult situation में है, you difficult situation में. तो मैं किसी को random या quack बोलूँ, मुझे बहुत बुरा भी लगता है. मन में कभी कभी तो आता है. But in all honesty, after a while, see, you're not doing any wrong to anyone. आप worst में worst क्या बोल दोगे? बस यही होगा, as a therapist, एक दो session के beyond कैसे ले जाओगे? तुम्हें आता ही नहीं है, right? So I think for everybody, if you really want to see कि मैं किसके पास जाऊँ, या ये person है या नहीं, go to their LinkedIn, go to their Instagram, go to their web pages.
Ask for their qualification. Ask them directly what qualifications do they hold.
I think absolutely you can ask them, and I think just go and just try it out, because of course you have all the right to check who am I going to, and if you can find like people, it's great. Word of mouth is great, right? कि कोई गया है और उनको safe लगा है तो आप जा सकते हो. But a huge disclaimer, which I think I would also like to ask you, I don't think every therapist is made for every person.
Right.
I think I'm a very chatty, humorous, fun, quirky therapist.
Okay.
A lot of people might not like me, which is fine. It doesn't make me a bad therapist.
Right.
They cannot just vibe.
Right.
It's a relationship at the end of the day.
Yes.
Even if it is a therapeutic one. हम दोनों ने सेम गाड़ी में बड़ी दूर तक सफर करना है. झेल तो पाना चाहिए ना हम एक दूसरे को.
Exactly.
And I don't think all clients are made for me. So if I feel, oh, this is not an issue, like for example, I do not work with marital issues and couple therapy. Not my forte, not my training. And kind of I don't feel right now I'm very equipped to work on that.
With such help.
Yeah, so I refer.
Right, and that's good.
So I think being honest with the client, yourself, take all of it.
I think that completely makes sense, and you know, as a professional, definitely there are things that we should be abiding by and being clear about what services I can offer and what I cannot. And I also feel that we need to start educating people more, you know, that when you are reaching out for help, there are a certain list of questions that you can always ask the professional and, you know, get the right help. Okay. I think serious बातें काफी हो गई हैं. Now we have an interesting game for you, ma'am. Just like the father of psychoanalysis, Freud, gave an interesting concept of word association. So it's a similar game with a psychology.
I just really want to say, you know, which is, what is this? The Neelam show.
Yeah.
From kuch I used to really want to do that.
Okay.
I'm very
Yes. Okay. But it's the psychology version.
Yes.
So I will just say some words.
Okay.
And you have to say the first incident or the first thing that comes to your mind. Okay, you can explain.
What is this, the psychology version? All of this is the psychology version only.
Okay, so are we good to start?
Yeah, I'm always good to start.
Fine. My first word to you would be joy.
My husband.
Okay, I see love blooming. Stigma.
I have broken a lot of stigmas around anxiety for myself.
Okay, next. Imposter syndrome.
Doesn't matter.
It was something we did go through, like you were mentioning.
Yeah.
You know, we started questioning ourselves.
Yeah.
But okay. Mind simplified.
Growing. It is growing, so I'm happy.
Self-esteem.
Can fluctuate. It is not static. People have to understand that आप जब आते हो, आप अपने आप से रोज कितनी बार बोलते हो मेरा सेल्फ कॉन्फिडेंस लो है, मेरा सेल्फ कॉन्फिडेंस लो है, मेरी सेल्फ एस्टीम लो है. इट इज नॉट अ ट्रू स्टेटमेंट. आपकी सेल्फ एस्टीम, इफ यू नोटिस, किसी सिर्फ एक कॉन्टेक्स्ट में लो है,
एक एरिया ऑफ लाइफ में,
दैट इज इट. और वो भी कभी कभी,
Right.
कभी कभी उस एरिया में सही से भी चलती है.
Right.
So I tell this to a lot of people. Take self-esteem like breathing capacity. जब पहाड़ पे जाती हो चेंज हो जाती है ना.
Right.
जब प्लेन्स पे होती है अलग होती है, एरोप्लेन में अलग होती है, तो वैसे कॉन्टेक्चुअली आपकी सेल्फ एस्टीम भी बदल सकती है. लर्न टू स्टेबलाइज इट. डोंट गेट फ्रीक्ड आउट इफ इट गोज लो और राइट चिल. इट्स ऑल ह्यूमन. जस्ट लर्न टू स्टेबलाइज इट. एंड कभी कभी नीचे तो भी कोई बुरी बात नहीं है. इट्स जस्ट एन इंडिकेशन कि चलो इस एरिया पे काम करते हैं. परमानेंटली किसी की सेल्फ एस्टीम हाई और लो नहीं होती. मैं
Empathy.
आई थिंक समथिंग आई एम स्टिल वर्किंग ऑन. I can't claim that I'm the most empathetic person on the face of this earth. It would be a lie. I realized after being a therapist that growing up so privileged, I used to lack empathy. I'm very emotionally intelligent. It doesn't indicate I'm empathetic. कभी कभी मैं अपनी माँ का पर्सपेक्टिव नहीं ले पाती थी, नहीं शायद ले पाती होंगी. बेसिक घर पे भी अगर मैं शुरू करूँ, and it used to come from a lot of privilege, and I can't even begin to explain. So I have very consciously started working on empathy. It's made my life very easy, first personally and then professionally. So very honestly still working on it, and yeah, I think I've come a far, like a really long way, so I'm very happy about it.
That's nice to know. I also feel empathy is something very tricky, okay? So I'm not trying to understand somebody else because they're right or wrong.
Yeah.
I am sometimes just understanding somebody else gives me more mental peace. So let's say somebody did not treat me well, but just empathizing that शायद वो कुछ go through कर रहा होगा will give me better mental peace.
I agree so much. It is because sometimes I'm like, if somebody said something really nasty to me, right? I mean, of course, I exist in this universe, so people say things to me. And now instead of getting just angry, if it is not harmful and doesn't like matter to me, I would just try to understand that, oh my god, उसकी life कैसी है, not in a
बेचारा वाला thing,
but I just let it go.
right?
So
It becomes easier for our own.
It's very easier to forgive also.
Right.
So yeah.
Great. Psychology.
Don't take it bookish. Experience. It is all about experience. It is all about experience. Karo, सीखो, all of you are trained into it.
Right.
You and me are no better than anyone.
Right.
You just studied a little more books, और किसी ने हमें ऐसे degree पकड़ा दी, तो we're just like more there. I think my maid might know it more than any of us. Life, psychology is live life, experience, and gain wisdom.
Right.
And then you make your own values and beliefs. So I think that.
Great. The PsycLife.
I really like. I think also inspiring. So very, very, very. I think my co-internship with you is when you started,
right.
And since then till now, I think I've vibed a lot with you guys. It's great, and the kind of work that you do. Very less people I like talking to about it, and they inspire me back. Like today, we were sitting and having this conversation. You gave me such a nice idea. So I think I lack such people in my life, in our mental health fraternity, जिनके साथ मुझे बैठ के मुझे भी inspiring ideas मिले. So I think I'm really grateful and really, really happy that you're one of my fraternity people and I get to work with you people. So
And there's a reason we've been sticking to you since the start. You know, we get the same vibe. So
absolutely, yeah.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was a complete delight having you. And do give a follow to our Instagram handle. It's by the name Mind Simplified. And I will see you all super soon with the second episode. Do drop in your comments around what topics you're looking for and how did you like today's episode. Thank you so much. Stay tuned. Bye-bye.